The rain had just stopped, leaving the forest soaked and silent. Mist curled around the trees as Ranger Daniel made his routine patrol through the muddy trail. He was about to turn back when he heard it, a faint, trembling cry. It wasn't the call of a bird or the whimper of a pup. It was something else, something desperate. Following the sound, he pushed through thick ferns and stopped cold. There, under a fallen tree trunk, lay a tiny tiger cub, barely alive, its fur drenched and its eyes half open. No mother in sight. No movement anywhere. Daniel's heart clenched. "You're all alone, little one," he whispered, gently wrapping the shivering cub in his jacket. He radioed for help, his voice tight with urgency. As the rescue team arrived, one thought echoed in his mind. This cub shouldn't have survived the night. But fate clearly had other plans. The cub was taken to the Wildlife Sanctuary's Animal Rehab Center, a quiet place surrounded by tall grass and the sounds of nature. Weak but alive, he was placed in a warm enclosure, wrapped in soft blankets. The caretakers named him Tig, hoping that one day he'd grow into the strength his name promised. But Tig wasn't alone for long. Living in the same facility were two German shepherds, Bella and Max, both retired K9 dogs who had once served as search and rescue partners. They were loyal, disciplined, and protective. When Tig whimpered that first night, Bella's ears perked up. She approached the enclosure, tail gently wagging, eyes soft with concern. Ignoring the caretaker's hesitation, Bella laid down beside the cub, pressing her body against the fence as if to comfort him. Max soon followed, standing guard nearby. By morning, Tig was nestled against Bella's fur, sleeping soundly for the first time since he'd been found. The caretakers watched in disbelief. No training, no commands, just instinct. Bella had taken the orphan tiger as her own, and Max had accepted him as family. It wasn't nature's plan, but it was love's miracle. Days turned into weeks, and the little tiger cub began to change, not just in size, but in behavior. Under Bella and Max's watchful eyes, Tig was learning more than survival. He was learning how to be a dog. Every morning, when the caretakers opened the gate, Tig would tumble out after Bella and Max, trying to keep up with their confident strides. He copied everything they did, from wagging his tail to tilting his head when someone called his name. When Bella barked, Tig tried to imitate her, producing a funny mix between a growl and a chirp. The caretakers couldn't help but laugh that he chased sticks, rolled in the grass, and even learned to fetch, though sometimes he'd forget and chew the ball instead. Bella would nudge him gently, patient as ever. Max, ever the teacher, showed him how to sit before meals and wait for his turn. One evening, as the sun painted the sky gold, the three sat side by side, two dogs and a tiger cub, perfectly in sync. Tig didn't know he was different. To him, he was just one of them. A shepherd at heart. As weeks turned into months, the bond between Tig, Bella, and Max grew unbreakable. They were no longer just animals sharing space. They were a family. Wherever Bella went, Tig followed. If Max barked at a stranger, Tig stood beside him, mimicking his posture, his golden fur bristling like a true guardian. During playtime, the three would chase each other across the open fields, their laughter like growls echoing in the wind. When Tig got tired, Bella would lick his face and nudge him to rest. Max often brought over his favorite toy, a worn-out tennis ball, placing it gently near Tig's paws as if sharing a piece of his world. The caretakers often stopped their work just to watch them. There was something pure in the way they trusted one another, something that reminded everyone watching that love didn't need to look alike to feel the same. Time moved quickly, and Tig was no longer a tiny cub. His paws grew large, his body powerful, and his playful nudges began to carry the strength of a wild predator. The caretakers started to worry. How long could this unusual friendship last before instincts took over? One sunny afternoon, while playing fetch, Tig leapt a little too hard, accidentally knocking Max to the ground. The workers froze, the air thick with fear. But Max simply stood, shook the dirt off, and barked in excitement, as if saying, "Nice try, kid." Tig lowered his head, tail wagging, almost apologetic. The moment passed, but the question lingered. Bella and Max still treated Tig like family, yet the caretakers couldn't ignore the truth. He was a tiger, and one day, his world might have to be different. Still, for now, they belonged to each other. And that was enough. As Tig's strength and size grew, the sanctuary faced a difficult decision. It was time for him to move to a protected tiger reserve, a place where he could live freely and safely among his kind. But how do you explain separation to a heart that only knows love? The morning of departure was heavy with silence. Bella and Max seemed to sense something was wrong. They paced around Tig's enclosure, whining softly as the caretakers loaded the transport crate. Tig resisted, growling, pressing his face against the fence toward his foster parents. Bella barked desperately, trying to reach him. When the truck finally drove away, Bella lay down near the gate, ears drooping, refusing food. Max stayed beside her, guarding the empty space Tig once filled. Inside the moving truck, the tiger cub whimpered softly, confused, scared, and heartbroken. He didn't understand species. He only understood family. Months passed at the reserve, and Tig adapted to his new home, at least on the surface. He hunted, roamed, and grew into a majestic young tiger. But deep inside, something was missing. He rarely roared, and often sat staring at the sanctuary gates, as if waiting for someone who never came. One bright morning, the caretakers arrived with familiar guests, Bella and Max. The moment Tig caught their scent, he froze. His ears perked, and his tail twitched. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he sprinted across the field. The staff held their breath, unsure what would happen. Tig stopped just inches away, and then did something unbelievable. He lowered himself to the ground, rolled over, and began to lick Bella's face, just like he used to. Max barked excitedly, circling him. It wasn't a tiger reunion. It was a family coming home. The reunion video spread like wildfire across the internet. Millions watched in awe as the tiger who thought he was a dog rolled on the ground beside his foster parents. News outlets called it a miracle of nature. Scientists couldn't explain it, how instincts could bend so deeply in the name of love. People around the world wrote letters and comments, some saying the story gave them hope again. Bella, Max, and Tig became symbols of something rare, proof that love knows no species, no borders, no rules. Just heart, loyalty, and the will to stay connected. In a world often divided by differences, Tig, Bella, and Max became living proof that family isn't defined by blood, it's built by love. They showed that kindness can erase the boundaries nature creates. When they sat together, side by side beneath the orange sunset, it didn't matter that one of them had stripes and the others had FURTO them. They were equals, protectors, companions, family. Their story reminded everyone watching that love doesn't ask what you are. It simply accepts who you are. Sometimes, the most powerful families are the ones we never expected to find.